a high school All-American at Gilman. He was a multiple-time All-American at Princeton, two-time Ivy League Player of the Year. He won a national championship at Princeton. He's won, as a pro, he was the Rookie of the Year in the NLL and Rookie of the Year in the MLL. Still playing for the Boston Cannons. He was our first ever recruiting issue, as Terry mentioned, he was on the cover of back in 1999. And he's an ESPN analyst, and he's also the co-founder and CEO of Trilogy Lacrosse, one of the leaders, if not the best, at recruiting education. Ryan can tell you a lot more about that. So without further ado, Ryan Boyle.
So before I get started, no one is allowed to sit in that section. No one is allowed to sit in that section. Okay, so everyone's going to sit in this section or this section, and everyone's going to sit in the first 7 rows. And you're not allowed to sit next to anybody that you know. Okay? 2 minutes. Ready? Go. It's important, okay, because we're going to look each other in the eye. We're going to be men. Okay, we're going to connect, and we're going to make something happen here. Also, I want you guys to take this in because this is an intimate setting. And whoever comes back next year, okay, you're going to be fighting for a seat in the corners. You're going to be happy to be a part of this opportunity. So I want you guys to take in what you have before you right now. And I want you next to somebody you don't know because that's what's going to happen in college. You're going to show up and say, who the hell are these people? I don't know any of these people. Okay? First of all, I just want to thank Inside Lacrosse for this opportunity. I'm thrilled to represent myself, my family. That's my father, Darby, right there. He's here on Father's Day. Okay? ESPN and Trilogy Lacrosse. I was given this opportunity to speak by Dan Flynn. I'm also very fortunate to have developed a relationship with Terry, wherever he is. John Gelati, who's floating around, and Bob Carpenter, who really the founder and the visionary behind Inside Lacrosse. I give him a tremendous amount of credit for being ahead of the game, so to speak, on the recruiting side of things. No one was really doing recruiting a decade ago, 15 years ago for sure. So a lot of people that have kind of jumped into the game, yeah, great, it's popular now, but who was there at the onset? Now, I'll never forget being on that first cover. I was a junior in high school. As a Gilman, I had one of an edge, which is 8 feet wide. It looked like a boat oar. Blue mesh. There was so little information being distributed at a national level before Inside Lacrosse that when I got to college, there was a walk-on from Cincinnati, Ohio. His name's John Robinson. He actually had an assist in the semifinal game his senior year. There was such little information being distributed that they took that cover and copied the string job that I had in my stick for their sticks because there's no tutorials. This was like pre-internet. Imagine no internet. Remember, can you even fathom that? I need information, what do I do? And they used Inside Lacrosse in order to be able to learn how to string sticks. But Inside Lacrosse hadn't even broken their stick stringing tutorials yet, so they used this cover shot. And the next year, they actually put Mike Powell on the cover, so I guess they got a little smarter. I was the #1 recruit, he was the #2 recruit, so I guess they screwed that up. And we did a photo shoot in downtown Baltimore, Federal Hill. I wore a yellow rip curl hoodie. I had a lot of long hair, much longer than now. I thought I was very, very cool. It took me a while before I was kind of served a nice slice of humble pie, and then kind of things got back to normal. But I was very, very appreciative of the opportunity presented by Inside Lacrosse and everything that kind of came along with that. You look at the transformation of Inside Lacrosse, and it really mimics kind of what's happened in the recruiting process. I was on the cover as a junior as the top recruit. Nowadays, a junior, if you haven't signed yet, it's what's kind of going on? Right? A lot has transformed in the recruiting process. You know, when I was your age, right, I actually just sat and had to wait by the phone until July until the college coaches called. And that was when there was landlines, not cell phones. I was waiting by a landline. And then I went on 4 official recruiting trips that I'll never forget. I went to Virginia, Hopkins, Duke, sorry I didn't end up going there, and Princeton. When I was a sophomore, a teammate of mine named Andrew Ferrone verbally committed to Virginia. Verbally committed to Virginia. At the time, that was completely unheard of. Completely unheard of. It's like the talk of the town is like, wait, what? You've committed already? You're done? Like how? How did that happen? How did that work? How did you do that if they couldn't call you? And there were these little loopholes where you could call the coach and you could go on unofficial visits. And basically what has happened is that little gray area, those loopholes have now become the norm. Right? You guys are living this. You know what I'm talking about, right? Okay? I'm not here to talk about the past and dwell on relics. What I'm here to make sure that you guys are aware of is that despite all of these changes, despite all the noise, the same principles, the same core, the same guidelines are still in place. And that is simply, what do you want? What do you want out of your college experience? It has nothing to do with anything else. It has nothing to do with a club program being able to market where their guys are going. Or a college being like, oh, we've got the top recruits and look at our class. At its core, it's about you. You. It's a decision that's going to impact the next 4 years of your life, but has the potential to impact the rest of your life. And that's why it's so important. And that's why you've got to hone in on what you want. And a lot of people make a big deal about the level of lacrosse. But when I think about it, I think about the following. Number 1, the size of the school. Do you want to be 1 in 40,000? Or do you want to be 1 in 4,000? That is a very, very different proposition. Do you want to go to a big state school and go to the big football or basketball games and paint up? Or do you want to be in a small liberal arts college where you're in tiny precepts and you know your teachers by their first name? Imagine being in an auditorium with 200 people for class, or shrinking that down to 1 of 20. Do you even know what the hell you want? I didn't know all these answers. That's okay. Geography. Where is the school? There is a huge difference being in upstate New York and being in Greenville, South Carolina. As far as the weather, depending on where you're from, the distance from your home, culturally, okay? Bobby Benson, some of you guys know him, right? The assistant coach at Hopkins. He's from Baltimore, Maryland originally. He was able to go home every weekend and have his mom do his laundry. Right? That's very different than if your parents want to see you play, having to catch a flight. Socially, what do you like in high school? Do you like to go out? Are you more of a homebody? The school that you're going to, is it a bar school? Is it a frat or Greek school? Do people live on campus? Do people live off campus? If you don't really like to kind of go out and more introverted, what does that mean? What are the on-campus activities? Is there intramural sports? We won the national championship my freshman year. I felt no pressure at all in that game at all. No pressure. the biggest pressure I felt was the fall, intramural football. I walked out for the first game, and the senior captain, Ryan Boyle, flipped me the ball and was like, "You're the quarterback of this team, right?" That was intramural flag football, and the very first game we played was against the defending champion. I think he was judging me more off of intramural flag football than how I played lacrosse that fall. It was more important that we won the flag football that I played well, in a couple scrimmages. In his eyes. What is the program's priority in the athletic department? Georgetown, when my brother went to Georgetown, they split a locker room with the soccer team. So you can imagine how the soccer team and lacrosse team kind of felt, comparatively speaking, if they're sharing a locker room. And you look at that versus other schools that have these crazy facilities, weight rooms separate for all lacrosse people. That says something. A coach can only be so successful depending on the administration that's above him. So if his president, his athletic director, if they want lacrosse to succeed, they're going to empower that coach. If that coach is empowered, that's going to trickle down to you and what you're offered and what you're given and the tools that you have. Lastly is academics, and this is undisputably the most important. You're going to open up a lot of doors the better school that you go to. And after 4 years, I can tell you that the doors that I've been open, given the fact that I went to Princeton, have been astronomical had I gone to somewhere else. It's 4 years, but it impacts the rest of your life. Looking at the school itself, you want to look at the roster size. How many players are on the team? That's going to tell you a lot about how the coach runs the program. Look at that compared to the number of recruits that are brought in every year. If a school brings in 20 recruits, do you think all of them are sticking around for 4 years? Just do the math. So if a school brings in 20 recruits every single year, there's going to be cuts made. What is the support system for the team? If you're somebody with a learning disability and need help, is there an academic tutor? Is there an academic fellow? Is there a study hall system? If you're looking at a specific major, are you able to explore that? If you have no idea what you want to study, that's fine. Then go somewhere that has a lot of flexibility. If you want to be an engineer, you should probably go somewhere with a strong engineering program. If you have no idea what the hell I'm talking about when I bring up engineering, then you probably shouldn't care about engineering. As strange as it sounds, lacrosse is a huge part of your life right now, and I get that. I was in your shoes, and I have the cover to prove it, apparently. And lacrosse was everything to me. But it should only be a part of your decision-making process for 2 reasons. Number one, there is the potential for you to get hurt. I've seen it happen. Guys get injured and cannot play. The guys that stay at that school, despite being hurt, says a lot about the school and their decision-making process. They went there for the right reason. Okay? My senior year, by one publication, I was voted the #1 recruit in the country, but locally, another player won the Player of the Year, the C. Mark and Kelly Award. His name's Dan LaMonica. You guys might have played a tournament out at Genesee Valley. Has anybody played at Genesee Valley before? No? His family owns that farm. It's an outdoor learning center. It's amazing. Dan ended up going to Maryland and stopped playing by the time we played them my senior year in the quarterfinals, he wasn't on the team anymore. Lacrosse had been such a big part of what he had to do at Maryland, it became more of a job. And he didn't like that. He lost the love. So given that cautionary tale, I think it's time to test you guys and see what you actually know about the breakdown. If you want to play Division I lacrosse, if that is your ultimate goal, stand up. Do you know how many programs there are in Division I lacrosse? Give me a guess.
36.
36. How many do you think? 100. So we have 36 and we have 100. How many do you think?
67.
67. How many do you think?
64.
64. 67 is correct. Not 100, not 36, 67. If you want to play D2 or D3, stand up. So NCAA lacrosse. How many D2 programs are there?
150.
D2, 150. How many D2? Give me a guess. 175.
115.
115. Okay, D3. How many D3 teams are there?
55.
55. 93. 80. Okay. Division 2, there are 57 programs. Division 3, we have 215. Okay, next. How many high school lacrosse players are there in the country?
60,000.
60,000. You can sit down now, guys. 60,000. How many? How many?
50,000.
50,000. How many? You, Adam.
Me?
Yeah.
125,000.
100. Darby, how many players?
85.
85. Bob, you know?
I know how many teams.
There are 100,000. 150. How many high school players go on to play NCAA lacrosse a year? Out of that 150? Out of the 150, 60,000? Come on. How many? 45? 3. 3,000. 2%. 2%. How many scholarships? What is the maximum number of scholarships a Division I program is allowed to have? 7.
12.
12. Mom? Come on, Mom. Everybody else is guessing. 2. My other mom. 5. 12.6. 12.6. So how many programs were there in Division I? 67. Maximum is 12.6. So we'll hold on the moms here. Okay? We'll pick on this mom. Out of that 67, how many are fully funded? Meaning, how many of them actually all have access to 12.6 scholarships? Give me a range.
Maybe 30%.
30%? So around 20?
Yeah.
25? What's your guess? Yeah. 10. 10? Who is? 25 is correct. It's between 25 and 30. And there's another 20 to 30 that are between 4 and 10 scholarships. Does Division II have scholarships? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes or no? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. No. Yes. 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 Yes is correct. Okay? How many? How many scholarships?
For each team.
No, for what's the allotment that they're allowed to have? Division II, Division I at 12.6 was the maximum allotment from a scholarship standpoint. What's Division II?
6.
6. Florida.
3.
Dad?
10.
10.8. What is the scholarship allotment in Division III?
6.
6. Who is? 0.
8.
8?
0.
0. 5. There is no scholarships at Division III. It's all financial aid or need-based. If I was looking to play lacrosse at the collegiate level, I would probably want to know this information, right? How many programs, what they're offering. Right? 215 Division III programs. 67 D1, 57 D2. Mom, there's only 25 to 30 fully funded programs. So guys, your friend from down the street that got a full ride, he didn't. He didn't. Period. He didn't. There's like 5 players in all of Division I lacrosse that have full rides. Total. We getting the picture here? Okay? Once you get there, just know, at least for me at the Division I level, it is a full-time job. You are a student and then you have a full-time job. So in the off season, every day you have some lacrosse activity, and the Ivy League is actually restricted. But you have practice, you have some sort of strength and conditioning, weight program type of thing. Then you have intervals, which is just a fancy way of saying conditioning and running. You have film. For a lot of programs, they require all first-year students to go to study hall. Like Hopkins, you have study hall until you get a certain GPA, and then you're allowed out of study hall. In season, every day is a grind. Monday and Tuesday nights, we didn't have practice until like 6:30, and that practice was roughly 2.5 to 3 hours. That ended with a mile, and then you went into the weight room. So you had class, and you try to grab a bite, and you go to the training room to get all your kind of bumps and bruises taken care of from last week's game. Then you get prepared for practice, like some sort of pre-practice meeting. Then you go out to practice, 2.5, 3 hours, mile run, weight room, locker room, and then now you've got to go eat. Well, all the dining halls are closed. So where are you going to eat? You got to eat, and then you got to get to your academics. That's Monday. Like, you ever seen Office Space in the case of the Mondays? Like, it's a pretty brutal Monday. All of this being said, I wouldn't trade it for anything. The life lessons, the friendships, and I'll never forget winning a national championship. I'll never forget being in that locker room. Time management skills. All the little things that you hear about, they're all true. You guys know that from being in a locker room, but it's even more sincere. So how do you do it? How do you get there? First and foremost, play another sport. If you specialize in lacrosse, coaches are going to evaluate you on where you currently are. If you play another sport, they're going to evaluate you where you are plus your potential. If you're at this level, just playing lacrosse, and there's somebody else that's just as good as you and plays another sport, they're going to think, well, if he also, if he wasn't doing that and he just played specialized, and once I get my hands in him, he's going to be that much better. I couldn't do that as well because this thing's kind of throwing me off. But if you're equal and you specialize and somebody doesn't, they're going to assume this person has room to grow. That's how they think. Number 2 is the academics. It's the first question I get asked by any college coach if they're interested in one of our players. What are his grades? It's the first question. What are his grades? And it's going to get you into schools that otherwise are going to be closed to players that might be better but don't have the grades to get into. Third thing, get better. Exposure's great. You need to get better. Scott Ratliff plays professionally. He's from Atlanta, Georgia. He's one of the first guys to come out of Atlanta, Georgia on a national stage, kind of big-time stage. Loyola picked him up at the last minute. Scott was actually headed somewhere else. He just kept getting better and better and better. A spot opened up at Loyola because somebody screwed up and made a mistake, and they saw him and they're like, that kid's awesome. We want that kid. We want him. Because instead of focusing on where everybody else was going and where am I going, he just kept getting better. And lastly is you need to get seen. You need to get seen. Fortunately for you, you have the industry leader behind you. You're at an event that had 50 million page views over the last year. Noodle on that one for a second. The event that you're about to go to is backed by an organization that had 50 million page views. Whatever you do over the next 3 days is going to get seen. Period. If you do something great, people are going to see it, whether you like it or not. I'm going to see it. Peers are going to see it. College coaches are going to see it. Guys on Wall Street that wish that they were in lacrosse full time and go to Inside Lacrosse every day, they're going to see it. The entire lacrosse world is going to see what you do over the next 3 days. What an opportunity. Take advantage of it. Thank you.